lot of Dwayne, I see Jim, I see Laura, I see a lot of people. Come on in. And it's right at 11. So today is August, what is it? The 21st, Friday, 11 a.m. here in St. Louis. We're at the St. Louis Real Estate Investors Association, and we're really happy to have Davis Travellini LLC. And here's Kathy Davis. She's our host today, and she's gonna fill us in on what's going on in St. Louis. So welcome, and Kathy, take it away.
John, you sound like Miss Jane in Romper Room.
Yeah.
Jimmy and Judy and Susie.
Yep. I'll keep that in mind. We will have to try that.
Okay, so we have some new strategies for you. I think you may be aware, that the tenants are winning the media war, I think, because there's a lot of articles about tenant organizations and, in St. Louis County, Judge Burton continuing to not allow the sheriffs to serve the eviction papers. And we're on a call every month with Judge Burton and other judges and other landlord lawyers and tenant lawyers. And I think I lost my temper a little bit this week because I was so aggravated. And Christine's laughing.
Because it's finally her and not me.
Yeah, I know. Christine's usually the one that is slamming the door. But it's pretty clear that Judge Burton in the county is not going to let us do evictions anytime soon. One of the problems that we have is that we're playing that chutes and ladders game where we keep sliding back down to go, because in St. Louis County, in the courts in St. Louis County, they are running basically two detention facilities. They have the jail and they have the juvenile detention facility, and those are all part of the courthouse building complex. And so when you put all that into the mix, plus the fact that it's our largest circuit and has the most, employees, their feeling is anytime they have an employee that tests positive from COVID, they have to go back to phase 0. We're never going to get to phase 2. I mean, it's just not likely to happen anytime soon. There's going to just continue to be people that have it. There was a tragedy where the deputy Reggie, died, but he wasn't serving eviction papers. He was serving process. And plus he was doing other things. He had a second job, he was in the community. So we don't know where he got it, but they're not stopping service of process. But, they won't do evictions because Judge Burton, has issued a new administrative order where he feels that's too dangerous for the deputies. And we've even tried to explain to him, I tried to do this in the call this week, and it was very frustrating. We tried to explain what the eviction process is. The deputy goes into the dwelling maybe for a couple of minutes to see that there's any people in there. And if there's not, he comes right back out. And if they are, he tells them to come out. I mean, this is not a pool party at the Lake of the Ozarks. This is a very quick process. And we don't think it's very risky for the deputies at all. They're briefly inside. When you have all the things that we've learned since the beginning of COVID about masks and about better outdoors and, all these things, I think that this is not that risky. And we're the only group that's being singled out. We've decided to enlist your help, and we are going to give you some information. I think I told you 2 weeks ago that we wanted you to see if anybody had city property to apply for the COVID relief in the city and see if you got it. Anybody, do you have any luck with that? No.
You did,
okay.
We put in the chat if you did. Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't do anything because I don't have any vacancies.
Well, Dwayne, you're a prince among men. I don't know. We have clients. I have one client that called and told me that they had 40 houses and no one was paying. So, but what we want you to do is we want you to keep on calling, apply for the relief. And I'm going to give you some phone numbers. We think that you should start calling the judges. Judge Burton in St. Louis County is the presiding judge, and he's a nice guy. I mean, I love him to death. I've known him forever. But I think he's wrong on this. And I think that everybody wants to cry about the tenants, but nobody understands that the landlords are suffering as well. And I don't know if this applies to any people who are present on this call today, but I know it applies to some of our clients, that they're not going to be able to pay their mortgages. They're not going to be able to pay their real estate taxes. They're probably not going to be able to pay their MSD or other utilities they're responsible for. I just looked online for the St. Louis County COVID relief page, and I clicked a couple of the links, and it has all this advice to tenants. You know, you don't have to pay, they can't evict you, and they still have to do repairs. Well, wait a minute. Why does the landlord still have to do repairs? If it's dangerous for the deputy to go into the unit for 5 minutes to get people out, should the landlord be risking that? Or their maintenance people going into a building to make a repair? I mean, I'm not saying don't make repairs, understand me, but I just feel like it's very one-sided, and we need to get our side out. I think we're losing the public relations war right now, so we need to fire back. We need to make our side heard. And the tenant lawyers in private will admit that it's not good for the tenants to drive the landlords out of business either, because then there's going to be no housing, or the housing that's left is going to be more expensive. We have heard of tenants that are trying to find housing and they can't because nobody can evict anybody. So there's not the usual, turnover and availability. Okay, so I will email this information to John afterwards too, so he can put it on your site. But I'm going to tell you right now, Judge Burton, the presiding judge in St. Louis County, he's the key person. I mean, of course, I would always advise you to be, respectful and everything, but let him know your anxiety and your concerns. His telephone number is 314-615-1516. And his email is michael.burton@courts.mo.gov. Now, there was an article in the paper yesterday about the ongoing stay on evictions in St. Louis County, and it talked about some tenant organizations that are appealing to Judge Draper at the Supreme Court to stop evictions, not just in the city and the county, but all over the state. And it mentioned that one of the tenant lawyers is going to try to file a lawsuit to stop having remote court proceedings. And I can tell you, I find this very ironic. My commission with some of these tenant lawyers, and we were studying remote court appearances prior to the pandemic, and they really wanted to have them because of all the people that can't come to court because they don't have childcare, or they don't have transportation, or they can't take the time off work. And these people are calling into court. I mean, there's always defaults. There's always people that don't show up, but we get quite a number of people that call into court every docket that we do. So Judge Draper, who is also a friend of mine, and I do like him quite a bit. And I don't think that he's, I think he's concerned about us. I will say that. But his telephone number at the Missouri Supreme Court is 573-751-4144. And his email is george.draper@courts.mo.gov. And I want to give you two more pieces of information. The St. Louis County COVID hotline is 314-615-2660. And I think you should call them and tell them that you're having distress because you can't evict tenants, and ask them if they have any relief for you. I would like to embarrass them into admitting that they're doing nothing for the landlords. No, there's no program for you. You can have your tenant call us. And then there's one more thing. United Way has like a resource number. It's 211. Call them. They coordinate all the agencies in the area. Call them and say, I'm trying to find out if there's any resources or help for landlords that aren't getting their rent paid and can't evict people. Because you're going to lose your buildings. You're not going to be able to pay the real estate taxes. I really am completely stunned that these local governments want to have you not pay your real estate taxes when their revenues are already way down. I mean, surely they don't want to, drive that train. It was interesting because, yeah, go ahead, Christine.
This is Diana. Could you repeat those contact numbers? You went pretty fast and I couldn't get all of them to contact, especially the emails. Okay.
Judge Burton, St. Louis County presiding judge. 314-615-1516. Michael.burton@courts.mo.gov. Burton is spelled Burton. George Draper, the Chief Judge of the Missouri Supreme Court. 573-751-4144. And his email is george.draper, DRAPER, @courts.mo.gov.
Great, thanks.
St. Louis County COVID hotline is 314-615-2660. Maybe someone can type the contacts into the comments.
Well,
Can you
you
go ahead
said
and
that you were going to give it to us, and
Yeah,
I'll go
I'm
ahead
gonna
and
give
send
it
it
to
out. That's you.
John afterwards.
We'll do that. Yeah.
So you'll post it on your site or whatever, right?
Yes, we will. We'll put it on the website. This information.
Great.
I have it here, but you'll send it to me, and we'll make sure we get it, the spelling and the numbers correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
don't worry so much about the details right now. We'll get it out. I'll have it done later today when I get the recording done.
So, yeah, we would like to see, we think we should all start standing up for ourselves.
Mhm.
You know, why should the tenants get all the sympathy? We know that we have some tenants that we talk to before court or on court, at court when they call in, and they really don't want to not be paying. You know, they want to try to get help. They want to do it. But there are others that when we were on the call with the judges and the tenant lawyers the other day, some of the tenant lawyers were admitting that they can't get people to respond to them to apply for the various, financial help that's available for tenants. Well, they won't call us back. We send things out and, they don't contact us. Well, yeah, welcome to my world. A lot of the people maybe they're embarrassed. Maybe they just know they can play the system, but they're not going to reach out. They're going to hunker down in their units until the sheriff comes. And we tried to explain that too, that when the eviction papers get processed through to the sheriff first places a notice on the door, giving them about a week's notice of when they're going to be evicted. And a lot of people move then. I don't know if that's been everybody here's experience, but that's been our experience, that in that week, that's when the tenants know they're down to the last chance and they have to get out. And the sheriff was on this call, the county sheriff, and he agreed that only about 20% are still left in the dwelling when the sheriffs go out to put them out. So I feel like we get blamed for everything, but the tenant lawyers, when they have an unguarded moment, they admit these people are hard to deal with and they can't get hold of them. There is money available for them. I think we gave John information previously about various things that they can apply for.
Mhm.
And we have that in a flyer format now. So I will forward that to John as well.
Thank you.
But there are a lot of places that are available. If anybody has property in the Normandy School District footprint, Beyond Housing has given a grant to the WashU Legal Clinic, and Professor Karen Tokars, who I know, is administering that. So if you have property in that area, I can get you right in touch with her. And if you can get her in contact with your tenants, she has money to disperse out. Apparently, there's a limit of $3,500 per tenant and per agency, but an aggregate of $8,000. So she might be able to help some tenants that have big balances get grants from more than one place to come up to closer to what the rent is owed. They have made some ridiculous requests, like asking us to take $1,200 on an $8,000 debt, or asking us to dismiss the lawsuit until the money comes. And we're not really going to do that. We'll do a Rule 17, or we'll do a stay order in the judgment, or we'll do a settlement agreement where we agree to stay the judgment, but we're not backing down from our judgment positions, and we're not going to back down substantially from amounts owed. We think we're giving up late fees right and left, and we are also very willing, and most of our clients are, to do pay plans where they pay the current rent going forward and then make monthly additional payments, towards the back balance. And I feel like some of these tenant lawyers don't understand how to work these deals. So we're trying to educate them on that. Okay, I want to let Christine, maybe talk about.
I could talk about a little bit here, and some of it is to follow up on information that Kathy has given this morning. You know, what I'm seeing, at least with St. Louis County, is that there are more defendants that are appearing for Zoom, the video conferencing court hearing, than I think we had when we were doing in-person court. And I also feel like really the majority of the tenants that are appearing for court want to stay, want to pay, want to work something out. And so I feel like there's a few that we're setting that are appearing that I've had to set for trial, but I've really worked those out before we ever had to appear for trial too. Worked them out, meaning gotten a consent judgment with a pay plan. The people that are appearing in court, we're getting pay terms. And I think that was the biggest struggle, where the landlords weren't communicating or getting anything from the tenants. And then they filed, and then now, okay, I want to try and stay. I can pay going forward. I can pay whatever amount extra towards the past due. And that seems to be working. I think a lot of, at least my county landlords, the frustrations are in all these judgments that we had from the beginning of the year, January, February, and in that first week of March, where we had judgments where they were already a couple $1,000s past due. They didn't get out. We couldn't do the sheriff execution. And now they're still in there, not doing anything, not paying anything. And now we're adding another $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 to what they owe. And it's those tenants that aren't doing anything to help themselves or seek out any rental assistance. But I feel like going forward from June, since we got back into court and moving forward, I feel like that we're making some progress in getting tenants to do pay plans, and that they're sticking to them for the most part. And those resources that Kathy was talking about in St. Louis County, I've noticed on the summonses that were issued this week, that St. Louis County is now requiring, in addition to the summons, that the list of resources for tenants to seek out rental assistance is required to be attached to the summons. So now for any new suits that are being filed in St. Louis County, the tenant is receiving that list of organizations that can provide rental assistance. So hopefully getting that into their hands before we even go to court will help even more too going forward. Do I have any other notes? Like I said, I've only had to set a few for trial within the last couple of months. The one that I actually had to proceed, or thought I was going to proceed on, turned out to be a default judgment. It was yesterday, and the tenant just didn't show up. So again, even if I'm setting them, we're trying to still get pay plans and consent judgments to work those out. And so far they seem successful.
Yeah, I think we had 4 trials set yesterday, and
Yes.
I think you settled 3 of them, and 1 was a default.
Yes.
And
So,
Christine and I were talking the other day about, it was the end of the day, and it had been a very hard day, very busy. And, we talked about how we've been working so hard, and we're like, why aren't we rich? We're working so hard. And it just, everything is so cumbersome, with the remote courts and the new way that we have to submit documents and all that kind of stuff. It's a lot more cumbersome and time consuming. And, we haven't raised our fees or anything, but, we could use a little relief too.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure.
Yeah.
I guess the other thing that I can comment about St. Louis County, what I'm noticing is they're a little bit slower in getting initial summonses and court dates issued for stuff that I've been filing. So that's something else to kind of keep in mind too, if any of you are deciding whether you're going to proceed to file or wait or what have you, because whereas before I was getting initial summons and court dates within 3 to 4 weeks of me filing a new suit, I'm now seeing that it's taking more like 5 or 6 weeks from the time I file until I get an initial court date. Just because of the limited number of cases they're allowing to be put on any given court date. And they're now just taking every case that's filed in St. Louis County Court and taking it in order of being filed. There's no preferences to landlord cases to get those on a court date anymore. So keep that in mind too, that it's around a 5 to 6 week right now for getting an initial court date even.
And I would say one more thing about that. We're about to reach the end of the CARES Act stay early next week. And it's likely that there will be a large number of evictions filed then that couldn't be filed because of that stay. So if you have something that you want filed and you can get it into us today or Monday before that stay ends, that might bump you up in the line a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So Chris,
Yes.
you want to tell us about your courts?
Well, the report that St. Charles is, like as always, is pretty much normal. They've, I think, probably due to volume and facilities, have handled it about as well. And for our purposes, for our purposes, they are prioritizing landlords, which we like. Jefferson has been closed down, but they just reopened, and I got word yesterday from my judge that only for landlord cases we can file and get court dates. So that's good news for Jefferson for the time being. The city, I'm sure we're mostly very interested in. I saw that Ann posted about the aid, and yes, the city aid, for those of you who are looking to get aid through at least the CARES Act. Now, there are other agencies out there that have a little bit more money, but generally that when you're applying for on the city website, the city government website to get the CARES Act money, it is limited to 3 months rent or $3,500, whichever is lower. Now, I have not seen any of my landlords who have applied to actually receive this money yet. I'll be eagerly awaiting. I would hope that we'd know something by this week, but I have not heard anybody calling me, with backflips and overjoyed that they've got this imaginary money that's supposed to be out there. It's very simple for your clients, your tenants to apply for it. I suggest anybody who comes to you and says, hey, I was able to pay, but unemployment got cut, tell them to go to this website. It's the St. Louis City, main website has links to it, and you apply online. All they have to do, I've done several of these applications. What they really have to do is have an excuse as to why it's only for months from March on, and they have to say for why they can't make money because of COVID. Now, it has to be loss of job, loss of income, loss of hours. For those who are on disability or didn't have a job beforehand, they're not qualifying for that. So it's just for ones who lost a job or lost hours or have furloughed due to COVID. If you do, as I think I told this last week, if you randomly get a check from a tenant, I'd suggest taking a close look at it from like an agency, because the CARES Act money, if you accept it and cash it, you're waiving the rest. And so I have no idea if your landlords are just going to start getting random checks in the mail. And of course, you see a check, you're just going to grab it and cash it. But I would suggest if you do get a check from some CARES agency, give me a call and let me know what comes with it, so I can tell you whether or not it's a good idea to cash it, particularly if it's not for everything your tenant knows. I suppose if it's for everything your tenant knows, there's no real worry to it. But if it's, you're getting a check for $1,000 and they owe you $2,000, you may be waiving that other $1,000 if you ever decide to proceed against them by cashing that check. So that's something to keep an eye out for. If you're, as we start getting further and further away from this, the unemployment extension, you're going to start seeing more tenants falling behind. But also they're publicizing this money, so there might be tenants who aren't behind that are asking, trying to get it for September rent. So you may see that kind of stuff coming, coming out the way. I think I saw someone ask about what we knew about statewide money, I have no idea on the statewide stuff. I haven't heard anything about funds for beyond St. Louis County and St. Louis City. I'm sure there's money out there, but it's hard to say what it would do. I would do a lot of Googling. There is, I know, a push to try to get more publicity behind these programs in the state, so we'll see. But I know so far, Parsons seems a little bit reticent to really do things beyond on a statewide basis. So I think it's being left up to the local municipalities to push this stuff out.
Probably check the county websites, wouldn't you think, Chris, on something?
Yeah,
like
I mean,
that?
I think a lot of them, that's what they seem to be. It's the government websites seem to have the links too. So
Mhm. So
Let's
apply
see.
for the money, get your tenants to apply for the money, and if we do get money, let you know to make sure we're not taking money to bypass.
Yeah,
other
unless
money.
it's very clear. I mean, if you got like say a check for some church, that's probably not going to have strings attached to it. But if you get anything from some federal program, it's so far we've heard that they have a lot of strings attached, and it might not be a bad thing. You may take the money and say, I don't really care about eating some overage if it gets the tenant current.
Mhm.
It's not if it's close, it's not a horrible thing, particularly if they're decent tenants and you don't really want to re-rent the place and try to force them out, particularly if you're in St. Louis County and there is no end in sight as to when you could force them out. You may be willing to consider that, but that's something you should probably talk to Christine or myself about for your particular municipality, whether it makes sense for you
Mhm.
to do that.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm seeing a question from Anne in the chat. That she has a case that has been drug out by the tenant, and she wants to know if it would help to write a letter to the judge, and she's in front of Judge Perkins. We are not in front of Judge Perkins. We are in front of the other judge, Judge Nicole Colbert-Botchway. My experience with Judge Perkins has been very limited, so I am not 100% sure if it would work, but if it's a polite, respectful letter, it wouldn't hurt. The presiding judge in St. Louis is Judge Rex Burleson, and he allowed evictions in July and then shut it down again until September 1st. I was able to talk with him several times. I mean, he was very good. He took my input. He gave us the exemptions for the 441s and for the commercial evictions. And at least he's given, an end date of September 1st. So I'm not going to tell you can't talk to Judge Burleson as the presiding judge, but I would ask if you can to hold off until after September 1st, because I'm going to be lobbying him again to lift, the moratorium then. And, if you have anecdotes like Ann has about, how much money the person owes, they refuse to get out, the grant money is not available to cover very much of that, then I would like to pass that along to him. His stated reason for doing this moratorium for 1 month was to allow people time to apply for the money and to get some help. I don't think it's fair for the landlord to say, if you want any money at all, you have to take a huge discount or, agree not to evict them or dismiss your lawsuit. I don't think that's the kind of thing we should be agreeing to. We don't have a lot of leverage until they reinstitute the evictions again, though. And everybody's situation is different. It could be that it's worth it to someone to take $3,500 on a $6,000 debt, just to get the money. But I would want a judgment in place saying that the rent going forward has to be paid, or, and I wouldn't dismiss anything until I had the money in hand. Cleared funds. Supposedly the tenant lawyers all know that they would be foolish to give the money to their own clients, and it would be better off going directly into the hands of the landlord, but we can't, control what some of them do. There's at least one tenant lawyer organization where the people are, the one lawyer is very difficult. She said in a call we had last month with the judges and everybody that she thinks it's time that the state of Missouri takes the landlord's property away from them, all the landlords. I'm thinking that might be socialism, but
Wow.
What? Hello? I'm so sorry. Taking the property away from the landlords?
Yeah, this was this crazy tenant lawyer who suggested that. That's not going to happen, at least not in Missouri.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah, don't worry.
Are they going to take the loans over too that we have?
Oh,
Right. Who's going to pay the taxes then?
The taxes and everything else, right?
Yeah. Why has the population fled the city? One of the reasons is that, they've harassed the landlords so much over the years that a lot of them left and wouldn't operate rental housing there. They've got a ton of vacant and abandoned buildings and vacant property that doesn't generate any tax revenue.
Mhm.
So yeah, that was a good war on the landlords.
Maybe they could fix up the abandoned homes and make those into nice rentals instead of taking
Yeah,
our property.
someone should do that. And
Isn't that what the LRA does?
Yeah.
Yeah, very slowly. And we all know about what's happened in North County from the 2008 recession, all the vacant and abandoned properties that got foreclosed on or were abandoned and the lenders didn't even want to foreclose. There's a lot of inventory still sitting up there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if it makes it too hard for us to do business as landlords, we're going to do something else.
In North County, you could probably pick up Monday at the county tax sale, can't you? Some of those
Yeah.
properties. Yeah. Mhm.
And this kind of thing, when they don't allow you to enforce the ability to collect the revenue from your investments, it has a long tail. There will be big tax sales 4 or 5 years from now from properties that are going to get abandoned now.
Yeah.
Does anybody else have anything they would like to share or questions or anything? This is a much better call than most of the ones I've been having this week, so I want to thank all of you for being here with us and hanging in there.
We want to thank you too. This is such a great update every week you guys do. You provide so much.
Thank
and,
you.
it's so invaluable to our group and to our whole community. We really appreciate it.
This is my first one. My name is Eugenia Ilyashov. I'm a realtor with with the Posh Properties, and I have been an investor specialist for a while. So this is incredible information, and I'm immensely grateful to be a part of this group. Thank you so
Great
much.
to have you, Eugenia. Welcome.
Yep.
I'll be a regular. So
I guess we'll see everybody next Friday, I hope.
yes, definitely.
We will. Thank you so much. Really, really appreciate it.
Okay, guys, and call those judges, email those judges.
Yes, we'll get the
Apply for
information
those
out.
grants.
Yeah, we'll get the
Yeah.
information out for everybody. Thank you so much.
I want everybody to
you.
call the COVID hotline and have them have to tell you, oh, there's nothing available for landlords. I just want to embarrass the crap out of them.
We will do that.
Yay.
I will
Okay.
do that.
Thanks, guys.
Thank
Thank
you
you,
so much.
weekend.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
everybody.
Bye.
Thanks for coming.
Bye.